I have never done a video like this. I have watched videos like this, but I never done one of these, and I have a bunch of palettes here that I want to put on my personal chopping block. I thought I'd try some kind of an intro now, so if you're new here, hi, I'm Ella. I do very fun videos about makeup, new makeup, fun looks. I do a lot of 3 looks or 5 looks, 1 palette at the moment. I also do like color themed videos. It's basically just a dive into the makeup world because I'm very passionate about this. This is not my full-time job. I do this aside of my full-time, and I'm also a university student, so I'm quite busy, but I'm very passionate. So let's head into the chopping block palettes today, where I just tell you what the fuck is that if you never heard it. And I always say my lip of the day, and today I'm using yeah, here we have a problem now. First of all, I cannot pronounce the brand. I think it's Chirianyan. I don't know. It's a Chinese brand. I will put the name somewhat here. And this is a gloss that I got, and I have no clue how these are called from the brand. This was a gift with purchase, so it's red. It's actually, it looks a bit like blood, and I'm all in it. So what is a chopping block if you have never heard of this? This basically means this is makeup. A lot of people do mixed makeup for like foundations, concealer and stuff, that you will put on a chopping block, and you kind of want to focus on that item or on these items, and then you want to decide on the chopping block, do you want to keep it, or is it chopped and does it go to the trash, or will you give it away? Basically, will you declutter it or not? And this is not so much of a focus item thing that I personally have with my little focus box that I use. This is definitely a long-term project. So I will show you 19 palettes that are on a chopping block for me that will be a topic in all 2024. So far, I don't have an idea how I want to do this, but my first thought was to just take one of these palettes and use them either for a whole week straight or at least 3 times in that week, so that I can make a final decision on that. One of these palettes you already have seen the 3 looks video, and that's what I wanted to say. I will document the looks either in shorts or maybe in dedicated videos for that palette. And by the end of these videos, I will decide whether or not to keep the palette. With eyeshadow, usually I am a hop or top girl. I am either very passionate about a palette and I can after one use say, oh, I love that palette. Some palettes I need 2 to 3 uses to kind of get a feeling for it. A good example for that is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. The first time I used it, it was meh, very underwhelming. And then I did more looks with it and I was completely, yeah, I was blown away because I love this look. Same with the Xenon. I love the Xenon. Xenon is my favorite Natasha Denona palette. See, sometimes it just takes a couple uses to get warm with a palette. And then I have here palettes that I use either once or twice, some of them 3 times or 4 times, but I'm still like, for some reason I'm not excited. For some reason these don't give me joy. Usually when I take a palette out of the shelf, the 19 palettes are sitting in front of me, so I could take one of the remaining palettes here in the shelf, look at them and be excited, be creative. My mind would already create 2 or 3 looks with this palette, and then I would try to kind of do one with all 3 ideas. I'm weird, I know. My mind is very passionate about makeup and colors, and these palettes don't give me that. That's why they are on the chopping block. I will also store them separately, so they will get a separate place here on my desk so that I don't have to put them back in the shelf, because in my mind, if I put them back in the shelf, I will forget about them, even though I wrote them down in a list in my little makeup idea content book. I will forget about them. So they get a special place on my desk, and each Monday I will just take out one from the pile and use it for the week, or as I said, at least 3 times in that week so that I have 2 days left for palettes that maybe more excite me. Or maybe I will fall in love with a palette. So enough of the ramble. The video will be quite long, so grab something to drink, to snack, to eat, to lick on, whatever you like to do when you watch a video. Or maybe you get ready. I don't know. Maybe you listen to me while you sleep. I don't know. But let's start. The first is the Dior Silver Essentials palette. When this released last year for holiday, I think. This was the holiday backstage release. I was all over it. And then I created a look, then I created a second look, and I didn't feel it. These colors turn on me completely different than what they look in this pan. And I don't know, there is another one, the Smoky Essentials, that came out in January. That I think is what I thought this could be. So I'm not planning to pick up the Smoky Essentials, but I just want to clear my mind about the Silver Essentials, if I want to keep it or not. Overall, I like the backstage formulation. I did a short video with this, with a tutorial, and I already said it. I think I also did a swatch video on this. This is the MAC Cosmetics Nobody's Business palette, and I'm honest with you, this survived last year's declutter because of this design. This is the limited edition holiday palette they brought out last year for the Christmas time, and this has all existing colors. Some people try to argue with me on TikTok, but please do your research. MAC even said it. It's even, or it was when it was online, in the product description that all of these are existing shades. And on the MAC website, there was also a picture where it was like the old name and the new name for this palette, because some of these have been renamed, some of these didn't. For example, Carbon here is Classic Carbon. They did not rename it, but I think all the others, they kind of did. Yeah, it kind of had to match into the theme, like Frosty and Fabulous or Off the Grid. No, that one I think is an existing one. Naughty and Nice. But what I want to say is these exist in the regular line, but 10 years ago, MAC eyeshadows were the girl. They were it. But whenever I try MAC eyeshadows, I'm not feeling it. Underwhelming quality, and I just want to prove myself that I'm done with MAC eyeshadows and that I'm done with this palette, and that I can, even though this palette design is stunning, can let go of it. In some video or even an Instagram post, I said I will never part with the Nomad Cosmetics Santa's Village palette. The design is stunning. The inside design, the pans, everything is stunning. But the problem with this palette is the quality. The mattes, incredibly good. But these 5 shimmer toppers are so hard pressed, you don't get any color payoff. Let me prove that to you. Let's use the one in the center that I, for the sake of my life, cannot pronounce. Let's use Rudolph. A bit. What about Peace? The tiniest bit. You can barely see them, and that is actually how they apply on your eyes. Barely there. So I want to give it some last fair shots, and as of now, to be honest, I think this is a palette that will definitely get decluttered, even though I like the design, I like the theme and everything, but I just don't have space physically here in the shelf and in my mind to keep bad quality eyeshadows. I mean, come on, even in the makeup wipe that I just wiped my fingers with is nearly nothing. Like, this is the clear side and here's the side where I wiped my fingers. You can barely see pigment. That's how bad this palette is. I also have one Adept Cosmetics palette, and you might be like, definitely Minka, because I always bash the quality of Minka. Actually not. It's Samarian Sunset. I am just not feeling this color story. It looks absolutely stunning, but I also have to admit that I only did 2 looks with this so far, and both looks look the same. So I try to get more looks out of this, maybe with incorporating other mattes. That is always an option. I'm just too lazy. But on the other side, I do have matte eyeshadow palettes, all matte eyeshadow palettes that I can use with this. So I will give it a fair shot. This probably will get a full 5 looks out of it. I'm just not feeling the color story. I'm sorry, and that rhymed. In total, I have 2 Beauty Bay palettes that are on the chopping block, one being actually the Retro Love. In my Beauty Bay palette ranking, I said it very clear that I kind of overlook this palette. When I look at it, I see beautiful looks, but at the same time, I see how this is not really my color story. Something is just too chaotic, even for me. So I want to see if I can solve that chaotic tension that I have. But if not, this has to go. But I want to give it a fair shot before it gets retired. The other Beauty Bay palette, I already said it in the Beauty Bay ranking, is Earthy. And I don't think that I have to say a lot about this, but it's just a color story. The green, the mud, the forest is not me, it's not my vibe. I want to give it fair shots because I think I used this palette maybe twice. And there is so many potential in this palette. I want to give this a full week of amazing looks. So yeah, it would break my heart, I'm honest with you, because that would destroy my collection. I do have all the other 42 pan palettes, but at the same time, as I said, I don't have the physical and mental space for bad eyeshadow. I also have a Blend Bunny palette. This is the Forget Me Not palette. And although I like the quality, I just don't see the value in my collection of this palette. I would never use this as face palette. This 100% is a companion palette. The 12 mattes in here are amazing. I absolutely do not like the shimmers. They don't work with eyeshadow brushes and they don't work as eyeshadows, in my opinion. When you try to apply them with an eyeshadow brush, they get, I don't know if you can tell, but they get a super hard top. Not hard pan, but it's like, it's a dried up cream, that kind of texture. When I use this with a highlighter brush, amazing. They work super good as highlighters. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's also an option to kind of depot them, but at the same time, this is so barely used. It would be a shame to depot it if I can make somebody else happy with it. The Too Faced Italian Spritz is one of the best Too Faced palettes that have been released in the past, I'd say 5 to 6 years. Maybe since the Peach Perfect? No, was it Peach Perfect? The Peach palette. The problem with this palette is it's tone-wise, depth-wise, all the same. I'm missing a lot of deeper shades in here. I love the color combo. I even did a peach fuzz look with this because this is complementary. You have peach fuzzes and blues and it just works good together. Then it smells like toilet. Like not dirty, like a clean, fresh, citrusy toilet. That's the smell that this has. And I cannot stand the fact that the shade names are printed above the pans. Nobody does this. Too Faced? Please don't do that. I want to give it some more shots. In my head, I'm not seeing myself doing a full week with this, so I guess this will get only 3 looks, but this is not even worth doing a long form video for YouTube. This might get only 3 shorts or reels, whatever how you want to call them. And this might leave the collection. Although I have to admit, the quality here is amazing. It's a really good quality palette. Vive 90s definitely was ahead of its time. This released, I think, in 2022. Or 3? No, I think it was 2022. And this palette, if this was released today, would be a fucking banger. You know, the cool tones, the grays are back. My problem with this palette just is, compared to the other cool tone palettes that I now have, I don't see the value in this anymore. And although I like the quality, I think the looks all look the same. Maybe it's just me. I have to give it more shots for that, but if you don't have any of the new cool tone palettes, let me just say that. If you don't have a Natasha Denona Xenon, Glamlight Ghostface, what else is very cool toned? Beauty Bay Smoky palette. What else is cool toned today? So many other ones with the grays and stuff. maybe this one is a fair shot. This retails for around 50 bucks, I guess, but you get 3 grams per pan. So the value of this palette is fucking high. I know that a very certain viewer here of my channel, hi Diana, will probably lose her pants now, but the Glaminatrix Sugar and Spice. I have created 4 looks with this palette so far. I just can't get along with the color story. That's my main issue with this. The quality is really good. I think with the shimmers you have to get used to. This is another level of indie flake, but it's a good indie flake and I really enjoy it with a good glitter glue underneath. But I can't get along with this wild combo of a matte neutral cool row and then pastels. I can't. My mind cannot put these together. So let's give it some more shots before I finally make the decision to let go. Next up we have the Ladybug Glow Floresta palette. This one I got sent by my beautiful friend Danielle from the channel Fedora Beauty. She's here on YouTube and on Instagram. I used this palette actually once and I was completely shocked by the quality. I never heard of the brand. I know they sell on Etsy and I know they are on Monolith Shop every now and then, and amazing quality. And when I just look at the palette, I feel very inspired to do so. But my problem just is, again, this is more a color story thing. To me, it does not make sense that we have here a pink. The pink crashes with every other shade aside from the beer shade. I like the greens, that makes sense. The blue even makes sense. And the purple here, that venomous shade that shifts from, yeah, kind of purple to bluish greeny, whatever. To me, I feel like this palette is not very cohesive and that's why I struggle with looks. Again, I just want to give it some more shots. If I can't get done in my head, no mental space for this. I think I mentioned this in my Cosmic Brushes bingo that I did, that the Muse palette to me is a palette where I really have to think about getting rid of it or not. Or was it Serenity? Serenity or Muse? I don't know which one I mentioned, but when I gathered these palettes, I just put them side by side and for whatever reason, I'm just not drawn to Muse. This is, again, this muted forest kind of dirt color story. A lot of people love this. I don't. I just can't get along with it. But I also have to say that I did not use this specific palette often enough to say, yes, it's the complete color story that throws me off. If it's just 1 or 2 shades in here that I don't like so much, I can live with that. I mean, it's a 20 pan palette, so there is a lot of color combinations in here. So now we have a bit of a, not problem, but you already know how I decided on this. I don't. The Natasha Denona Yucca palette is the look that I'm wearing today. I have done a 3 looks 1 palette with this, and when I'm filming this chopping block thing here, I haven't done the 3rd look and I haven't decided yet. The Yucca palette, as soon as I got it, I did 2 looks and I hated it with a passion, and you already see, it's that dirt color story that throws me off. When I applied in my very first look in that 3 look video, I think I said it, that I immediately see puke. Like, this color story is just so unsettling for me and unsatisfying and is not making me happy. I give it just a fair shot to decide whether or not to let go of it. And as of today, with the 2nd look that I'm wearing, I don't know how I decided. To be honest, I would be surprised if I decide to keep it. Although I like look 1 and 2 that I did so far, I don't think that look 3 will completely change my opinion. I like the quality, I like the colors, so my prediction today is March 26th will be that I will have gotten rid of it. Is it the right tense? I'm very curious how future me will decide on this palette while past me is filming that video that you see in the future of the other one. Okay, now I get a headache. Let's move on to the other palette that is also Natasha Denona one, and that's the bronze palette. This, I don't know, this survived I think 2 or 3 declutters at this point. This won the battle against Huda Naughty Nude. This won the battle against numerous other warm palettes. But I finally want to make my decision. I am well aware of the fact that this is a monochromatic palette, like the Xenon palette. Do not expect like 6 completely different looks with this. They all will be bronzy. Like with the Xenon, they all will be gray, black, blue. But because it is so warm and I am just very shifting away from warm eyeshadow, I might have to let go. This was one of the, no. This was my first Natasha Denona palette. Yeah, I remember bronze was the first one that I got. I bought it on Look Fantastic back then. See, and that's my problem with it. I have emotional attachment to the palette, but no. We don't have emotional attachment to a bronze color story. Come on. This one, I already know how this is going to end. The Gloss Gods Cosmetics, it always happens. The Gloss Gods What's Your Power palette. Although I freaking love the quality, the mattes, the shimmers, Gloss Gods is one of my favorite indie brands. In case you didn't know, I'm affiliated with them, and you can save some money with my code Ella Kinkley on their website. I think you can save 10%. Yeah, I think it's 10%. And thank you to everybody who's using the code, the affiliate link, and the code is in the description box. By the way, same with Natasha Denona. I do have a code with them too where you can save 15%. It's also Ella Kinkley. I should have mentioned my affiliate codes. Do I have any else? No, I don't think so. If so, they're in the description box. And now the advertisement is ending. Back to the palette. It's just a color story. I don't like pastel palettes. I know that when I do looks with this palette, I will have to put in some other mattes, like darker mattes, because this is just too pastel for me. I love the quality, but there is just not enough space for a very limited palette like this to me. And the last 4 palettes that I want to talk about are all Odin's Eye. First being the Stone and Rock. When this released in 2022? 2023? Wait a second, when did this collection launch together with the jewelry? I don't know. But when I did my video on this, I did looks with this and the Jewels and Jam palette, and again, it's a color story. I don't like this as much as the others because of the color story. The quality is nice, and here are some shades in there. High Spirit, for example, Cheerfulness, Frenzy, and I mean, look at Passion. Beautiful shimmers, but the mattes are not it too green for me. I just want to make up my mind. Same with this one, the Solimona 2. I know that so many people love this, and Angelica Ninquist always likes to describe this as a very interesting take on a rainbow palette. To me, this is not a rainbow palette, this is a complementary palette. You have 2 rows of blues and purples, and then you have complementary shades and 1 black. I like the concept, but no matter what look I create with this palette, I'm not feeling it. The Norns palette from Odin's Eye I actually only used once, and I was completely thrown off. This is the new version. They reformulated some of the older palettes, or only the Norns? I don't know. The old one has round pans. This is now the like new chopped edges design, if you know what I mean. I just don't understand the color story in this palette. It does not make sense to me. I had such troubles creating only 1 look. So I'm very curious how I will do myself with more looks than 1. So I'm planning to do at least 3 with this. But as of now, I think this might leave the collection. And last but not least, very surprising to a lot of you, but when you now just know my preference and how I don't like green, like all green palettes, oh, the Hela palette. It's sad on that side that this palette is not available anymore, but again, it's just not my favorite color story. I know a lot of people would kill for this palette because it is not here anymore. I actually like the other Angelica palettes that came out for Halloween. One is the little ghost and the other one, I forgot the name. They are so much better than this. They are so much better than Hela. See, it was the Halloween collection. I love the reference to this. It's a beautiful quality, not gonna lie, but again, it's just the color story. And there you have it, 19 freaking palettes that I will focus all year long. So don't expect me starting this next week. Don't expect videos every week on this. I will try to just dose it over the year so I do not get demotivated. That's my problem a lot of times with Project Pans, or that was the problem with Project Pan when I did this, that I get demotivated because I force myself to use it. I don't want to force myself. I want to wake up on a Monday and be like, you know what? This week I'm using Norns and I'm excited to try it and I'm excited to finally do my decision. So, what do you think about that chopping block thing? Little announcement, there is going to be a second chopping block video that will be all around face palettes. Again, what do you think? Is that maybe a method that you could also use to just make up your mind on certain palettes? If so, which one would be on your chopping block? So don't forget to subscribe because fun videos are coming in 2024. Fun videos already have been in 2024 and 2023. And thank you for watching. I hope I can see you in the next one.